Welcome to the Dr. Chris Griffin Show, your resource for leveraging systems and technology to ease your workload, increase productivity, and provide you with the time off you deserve to live the life of your dreams. It's time to practice productivity and the passionate pursuit of a better life with your host, Dr. Chris Griffin. The doctor is in.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dr. Chris Griffin Show again. Today we got an amazing guest for you guys, Dr. Amanda Wilson. Now, I did not even really understand what all Amanda did until about a month ago when I started digging into some of this research, and it's truly amazing. I really don't even want to try to do justice to your amazing bio, Amanda. So could you just kind of tell everybody a story, which it's fine if it's a long story because you've got a lot on here that's really amazing. So just sort of tell everybody what they're going to hear today. And I'll tell you, the reason I got interested in you was because I do a lot of ortho in my office, right? And sometimes you just need to be able to phone a friend, if you remember back to the old game show days.
Yeah.
And so I stumbled upon you that way, and then I discovered, wait a minute, this Amanda Wilson, she's really something else. So I just had to have you on the podcast. So just sort of walk us through how you came to the point in your life where you are now just an amazing orthodontic expert helping tons of people.
Oh, goodness. I'm very flattering. Thank you so much, Chris. So I guess nobody really thought they were going to go to dental school to do what I'm doing, but sometimes God has an amazing way of having us do things we weren't expecting. So long story short, I'm from California originally, went to college in Missouri, went back to California for dental school at UCSF, went to residency at University of Connecticut for ortho, did that all, one big blur. Met my husband in dental school. He's a general dentist. He and I ended up getting married after residency. And then I worked for about 10 years in San Francisco, private practice, DSO, I've done it all. Things changed, a lot in the wonderful world of orthodontics. When I graduated dental school in 2001, Invisalign had just launched. Ortho was still pretty much just brackets and wires. We didn't even really trust Invisalign. We didn't think it worked. It was a really referral-based specialty, so it was no problem getting patients in. I can tell you, graduating right out of residency in 2004, we made some major bank. I can tell you what I made. I have no problem telling people because it changed so much. And I think unless you understand what the orthodontists have gone through in the last 2 decades, you can't really understand the position that we're in now and why a lot of us are pivoting. So, my salary, per diem right out of residency was base rate, I think 2,100 plus 200 per start. So, and I was doing 5 to 8 starts a day. So easily I was pulling in 3,000 to 3,500 a day. Granted that's gross, but it's pretty sweet, So it was pretty humbling, and not just me. It hit us in California, I think, a little bit earlier than it did maybe people more in the middle US and in the South. But once Invisalign really started scaling and ClearCorrect came out, and a lot more general dentists got into it, we started getting less and less referrals because people realized, general dentists realized, hey, they already do, endo, they do oral surgery. They just probably hadn't done ortho, and they realized sometimes it's not that hard. Sometimes it is. But they started keeping more patients in-house. And then, of course, later we had more direct-to-consumer aligners coming out. So things really changed. And I'd say about 2011, 2012, I started seeing, goodness, there was a general dentist right on the corner down the street from me that put up a billboard advertising Invisalign for $29.95. I was charging $8,000, and I was like, yikes. And he started getting a lot of my braces patients, and I took a huge hit. It was really, really humbling. I can tell you that. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? So I had to really reinvent and just really take a hard look. Is this what I want? Is this what I want? And also at the same time, I had little kids at home. My husband's a general dentist. If any of you are married to a clinician, you can attest that it can be really hard when you have kids because little kids get sick. And when someone has the flu and you have to cancel a day, it's like, who has the least production? And usually it was my husband who had less production than me, but he didn't want to be home with sick kids. So canceling a day took us a huge financial hit, and it happened all the time. So the two of us together were like, this is not working, is basically what it came down to. And we prayed and we said, I hope something, hopefully there's a sign that we can do something differently. And the weirdest thing happened, and a lot of your listeners may not like to hear this story, but I'm going to tell you the truth of what happened. I got a phone call in 2013, early 2014, from some venture capitalists. They were looking for some help to do a startup, which was going to be an aligner company, which at the time wasn't really direct to consumer, but now it is, which was called Smile Care Club at the time, which has been since rebranded Smile Direct Club. They were looking for someone to be the clinical director. It sounded, interesting, normal hours, normal vacation. And so I took it. And initially I can tell you, a lot of people are like, oh no, she started Smile Direct Club. It's really different than it is now, what we did back then. But initially, I mean, there really wasn't, the whole reason I was really into it was that we heard so many stories from so many people in areas of the US that were just in underserved areas, who were disabled, that wanted orthodontic care but just couldn't get to an orthodontist. And that was really the real reason, access to care, why I helped to agree to start that company. I realize it's totally different now. But yeah, so that's basically the story. After that, I only stayed with them for 2 years. I left in 2016 when they really scaled. It just wasn't the right fit for me at that time. And I started my own company, which is called Straight Smile Solutions. I had a huge non-compete. I couldn't do anything in an aligner arena for 5 years, a little less than 5 years. So I had to reinvent myself again. And I was like, I don't want to go back to treating patients again. I already did that. I'm really good at working with doctors. I'm really good at helping doctors, teaching doctors. Let me help them with braces and other things, and so I started helping out companies like 6 Month Smiles and some other companies, some other phase 1 companies. And I started just helping out doctors one-on-one on my own. And it's grown from there. Now I have a pretty decent client network of clients all over the world that I help with any kind of ortho, basically.
Yeah, when we were talking on the phone the other day, it occurred to me that I had not realized that a couple of years ago, maybe a friend of mine had sent me a link to a video, and he was like, "Can you believe this lady? Check this out. This makes me so mad." And it turned out it was you. And so right, that was the so that was when you were you still with Smile Direct Club at that time?
I don't know what video that was. There's a lot of videos that go around a lot. I've been pretty much trashed on social media a lot, and whatever, you gotta have thick skin. I'm telling my story to you, and you're the first. I can tell you, I couldn't talk about this up until this past summer when they went public, and now I can. So I had to keep my mouth really buttoned. But at this point, it is what it is. Love me, hate me for what I did. I can tell you also, because I also never said this, there's a lot of really great orthodontists that worked with Smile Direct Club who are really famous orthodontists. They don't say anything. I know who they are because I hired them all. So, and of course I keep everything private, but I laugh when they're the same people that are making fun of people. I'm like, dude, you brought in $500,000 last year. Come on. But they make a lot of money, and general dentists too, working for all those that are out there, Bite, Candid. There's so many companies, and they make some pretty good bank off that.
So let me ask you a question. So this is good. I do a lot of work, my Facebook group is called Solo and Private Dentist, because I just have a real desire to keep, I'm not going to say status quo, but for years and years, it just seemed to me like dentistry was so special because it was local, and you had a guy who gave a service to the community, and the community, rewarded that dentist for working hard and being the guy in town. And then I've seen a lot of venture capital come in for DSOs and stuff. Had some opportunities to get in on ground floor on some of that stuff, and I just, after a lot of soul searching, just didn't believe it was in my nature to do that. But so let me ask you a question. Now that you've been on both sides of the thing, what would you have to say about venture capital coming into dentistry, and what is it doing to change, what we're used to?
Yeah, I've been involved in that too. I mean, I think the benefit is that they can lower prices, and they can provide services. They're really good at certain things that maybe I don't know. I don't know what you learned in dental school, but I learned zero about the business behind dentistry. I wish, goodness, that's really the hands-on skills you could have picked up. It was the business. I had no idea how to run a business, And now I've learned so much, and I would have done things totally different. But I think we really need to team up and support one another to do this. And then, you know, venture capital is all about making money, and they're going to cut corners because they don't necessarily care about the quality of the dentistry and how the patient is treated. And I have a little bit of a hard time because, I mean, the ones I've gone into, the DSOs, it's not, it makes me not sleep that well at night. I feel bad sometimes. So, I mean, I think it'd be really great if we all band together and we just, I mean, I know there's buying groups and stuff, but we all supported each other and still kept the excellent clinical quality. And that's part of the reason I do what I do, because I mean, the only way to really succeed now is to offer specialty work within your practice. You can't just do bread and butter dentistry. It's really, really hard. Just because the insurance reimbursement, unless your cash is so low. So we need to be able to support one another to be able to provide decent specialty work to patients who can't, you know, necessarily go outside their community for treatment.
So for going off what you just said there, if you think the only way that like a general dentist, local dentist can survive is by acquiring more and more advanced skills, which I don't disagree with, because I've been doing ortho for a decade or 12 years, just got into implants pretty big a couple of years ago. Sleep. I mean, I'm trying to, you know, I guess I'm here doing what I can do to serve the community and still keep things where I think they need to be. So, I mean, how do you see that? Because do you think that how do specialists you would think would really hate that, because general dentists like me are learning more advanced skills. Does it make their life a lot harder? What do you see about specialists in the future?
I mean, honestly, based on all I can tell you is about ortho, you know, in terms of what I do and what the doctors I work with do. I support doctors to do ortho in-house, general dentists, pediatric dentists, primary care doctors. But the way that we do this is that we screen all their patients. When I recommend screening from age 4 to, 104, we start really young because we're looking at airway and other things too, habits. But the doctors I work with, 100%, they send more patients out to specialty than they ever did. And not just ortho, they're finding other things, impactions that they didn't even know were there, supernumeraries they didn't know were there. So they're sending more stuff to OS. They're sending stuff to endo because we're finding pathology. They're sending way more, and usually the specialists initially, they're like, yikes, you're doing ortho, but then they realize, oh, I'm getting way more cases. Now, granted, they might be harder cases, but hey, at least they're getting a lot of cases. So I think it's a win-win for specialists, the general dentist, and the patients. Okay.
Well, hey, I like the growing the pie concept. I think a lot of people in our profession, they feel like the pie is this big and it may be getting smaller, and the more slices you take out of it, that's just less for the specialist or whomever. So I like your outlook on that. I hope so. I will tell you this, Amanda, that this year I got fewer Christmas presents from specialists than I ever have.
We don't have any money. So yeah, we're hurting a little bit. So sure.
We're still friendly with each other, but I got fewer hams in the mail. I will say that.
Hams, because I see what my husband gets. It's not as good as it used to be. I can tell you that much. But gosh, I wish it was hams. We used to get steaks. It was really cool.
Oh, I've gotten Omaha steaks.
Crab?
Got the hams.
You get crab?
Yeah, a periodontist one time, and I still send out a lot of perios. So I'm not sure if I made him mad or not, but he sent me the coolest, almost sword-like knife one time for Christmas, and I'm like, man, what have I done? These guys are so. But anyway, I'm just joking around. But it's times must be changing. They must be changing. All right, so let's talk a little. From what I read about you here, you know pretty much everything ortho. And so let's say you're a guy like me. I've done. I took a Big Bob Garrity course, early 2000s, right? You remember Big Bob?
Yep.
You ever heard his stuff?
It's still around. Yeah, it's still around.
So anyway, basically just straight wire concepts. I do a lot of class 1 cases. I do now almost all my class 2 cases. Still don't like to do class 3 cases, but I never could get good enough results with. Now I do them Invisalign or ClearCorrect, but I never could really get as good a results as I can with a wire. And so what do you think about a guy like me who does a lot of ortho, but still just not in love with my final results with aligners? Am I doing something wrong? Do I need to
probably
learn more?
the ones we work on, at least Invisalign, I can do everything with it. I'll make it look awesome. It might take some movements, might take a little bit longer than they would with the, sounds like you're putting on brackets correctly, so that's a good thing. It's just okay, let me help you with one case sometime. You know, if you've got a tricky one, we'll make it perfect. You know, Invisalign's a great product. It's all about just knowing to use how to optimize it, you know, and you'll get a really good tech and you'll get a really junky tech. And you don't really know, you know, and it's hit or miss. And the higher you get on the doctor locator and your status, the better your tech gets, but you need to get up there first. You know, ClearCorrect is a tool. To me, it hasn't changed much in, goodness, where are we on 15 years now? It's still pretty much the same thing. It's a much more rigid plastic. I find it harder to work with. A lot of cases I don't want to use it on. Most of my doctors, honestly, are either doing Invisalign or they're doing white label. And white label is basically using resources that are out there. You don't even have to buy any equipment now. You can outsource it all. I just did a webinar yesterday. $15 aligners is what it comes down to. That is the price, plus about a $90 setup fee. It's crazy cheap. So you can do a full, let's say 10 upper and lower for $390. Outcomes are absolutely incredible.
Well, I want to know more about white label because a few years ago, I bought one of the first 3-shape 3D printers. It was expensive too. And that was like $25,000. I know now they're super cheap, but I never could. And of course, I have a Cyric, but I never could. I wasn't really confident that I could do a good enough scan, get a good enough acrylic model, and then do suck down. So I kind of abandoned that. So what's out there now for somebody?
Well, most of the doctors, I get a lot of phone calls about this. And by the way, if any of your listeners want to call, this is totally free. Just give me a call and I will talk you through it. There's no cost to this because I just love to help you with this. But super, super easy. So you don't even have to have an intraoral scanner. Even if you want to take impressions, there's a resource for that. There's labs you can send it to that will scan your impressions and turn it into a digital file. I think it costs about maybe $20, $25 per arch. So if you're going to do a bunch, you might as well get a scanner. But so that's the first step. If you don't have a scanner, after that, you're going to send your scan to one of, I use 4 different design companies. They're all US based. I feel more comfortable to work with US based companies. The prices range from $90 to about $190 for the actual ClinCheck. It's like a setup. 90 on the low end is one company, 190 is a higher end. To me, they all turn out about the same. So you might as well go with the cheapest company because the quality is all about the same. They're all using the same software anyways. So, so they create a ClinCheck, I'm calling it that. That's branded, but you know, you'll make your prescription. You'll say, I want this, I want IPR, I don't want IPR, you know, don't move this tooth, it's an implant, et cetera, et cetera. It's very similar to what you do with Invisalign or ClearCorrect. They give you the little animation. You say yes, no, or modify it. Keep going until you make it perfect. For the most part, I can tell you that these design companies, they do such an incredible job that usually the first or the second is perfect. And with Invisalign, it probably takes me on average of maybe 3 to 4 modifications to make it perfect. With ClearCorrect, I'm upwards of 8 to 10 now. That's how many modifications it takes to make it right. Like either they don't speak English or they just don't listen to what you write. So very frustrating. So I like it because it just saves a ton of time. So once you approve it, then you have 2 options. If you have an in-house lab, they'll export it to you. You only pay that $90 and then you'll finish the process. If you don't own any equipment, that's totally fine. They have a list of manufacturing partners that they work with where these design companies have pre-negotiated the price for the aligners with the companies. So as the one I'm using now, I'm not going to mention names because this podcast may live forever. But call me if you want referrals and I'll do that because in order to get these prices, you have to go through the right channels. But most of my doctors are paying about $15 per aligner, and this is for really good material. This is for Zendura Flex, which to me is the top of the line. It's Zendura Flex is up here, then maybe Essex Ace, Invisacryl, and a couple other ones. So it's gonna feel just like SmartTrack. It's gonna work just like SmartTrack. Scalloped edges, really nice trim, not that straight line trim. Very finished and polished. It's not hand cut, you know, it's actually machine cut out. So it's really, really, it looks just like Invisalign, honestly. Performs just like it. There's only a few features that the white label doesn't have. Then you may not even be using these features in Invisalign. These are still proprietary features. So if you use precision cuts, which is the elastics, the hooks, They don't have that. So if it's that type of case where you need it, you're going to need to still work with Invisalign. They also don't have the bite tabs that you have with Invisalign. I don't know if you use those either, but those are the only really two features they don't have. Otherwise, they have attachments and they do stage and place the IPR. So you get the little printout of where to do the IPR and when, and the little matrix for the attachments. But otherwise, it's the exact same thing. You basically flip this around just because it's so much more efficient. You'll probably, if you have a scanner, you'll probably get your aligners in less than 2 weeks. Super fast, you know, and the stuff really fits. And there's also other companies out there, just to boot, that you can order, like, let's say you have a patient who's really on a budget. And I know this is a huge deal. Like with Invisalign, you know, you get all of a sudden, as soon as you hit yes, and it's a full case, you're getting that 1,800 whatever lab bill, like right then, which is a huge hit, right? But there's some companies out there that now you can choose how many aligners you want. Like I only want to print the first 3. You know, which is $15 a piece, upper and lower. So if I'm doing the math right, that's $120. That's all I want. So they're only going to charge you that, you know? So if a patient's really on a budget, they can just pay as they go along and you can just print as you go along and you're not taking a huge hit on the lab fee. So I think that's pretty incredible too, because that way you can compete with the direct consumer companies by really lowering your down payment.
What, I don't even know what am I probably paying for a case right now from, let's say ClearCorrect. What am I probably paying for an upper lower case that's a little bit more complicated than 6 trays? What do I probably pay?
They have 2 different options. So they have their unlimited and then they have their flex. So unlimited, I think is, if I'm getting it right, $1,563, unless you get a volume discount, around 15-ish. Okay. And then their flex is $99 for the setup and $35 per aligner. So it's like 3 times the price of what we're doing with white label, and we're using better materials.
Wow.
So, yeah, a big difference. And it takes forever to get your case. I mean, no joke. Some people were telling me cases from last fall took 90 days to get them. That's way too long.
So you think, so the total lab fee then on a comparable case might be 1/3 of the price?
Yeah, it is 1/3 of the price.
But there is some you've got now. Listen, you've got to make some money if you're helping people, right? So so you got to be paying you to help with the ClinCheck part.
So my fees, I have 3 different, most of my doctors, I'd say 98% are on subscription, which is unlimited support. So I always tell them, if you're going to go in and I'm going to help you, let's jam, you know, like some doctors will do 30 cases the first month, go from 0 to 30. But the way I work with doctors, I tell them, before you start working with me, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a month, 2 or 3 or more to take as many photos on as many patients as possible. You know, just screening photos. You don't have to say, do you want ortho? Because it might not even be for ortho. We might find other stuff they need. Maybe they just need implants or bridges or, you know, other stuff. But let's just screen as many patients as possible. I mean, taking ortho records or, you know, just photo records in general is an incredible way to just grow your business, because there's nothing better than blowing up these big pictures on a screen and you've been being like, hey, look, this filling's, you know, eroding, or look at this attrition, it's getting worse. Look at this fractions, it's getting worse. Almost everything that's happening in the mouth is kind of related to ortho anyways. It might be related to other things, but a lot of conditions are related to ortho and they'll get worse over time. So if you get a series of photos, I mean, there's nothing better to sell. I know we don't have to sell, but to close the case, you know, than having photos. So yeah, so when we meet with doctors the first time, once they sign up, you know, sometimes we'll look at 30, 40, 50 cases together and we'll be like, great ortho case, nah, refer that one out to ortho, too hard. Here's why, you know, and then they'll get like, you know, we'll work with their teams, their OMs, their treatment coordinators, and work on scripting so they're ready to sell. And then they've got like 30, 40 potential cases and they go sell them, you know, and maybe they close 10 the first month. Well, okay, closing 10 at $4,000, $5,000 a case, that's a lot of money right there. So shouldn't be a problem, you know, and then from there, there's a lot more.
Well, that's, I mean, yeah, that sounds like an amazing service. Well, but so I mean, I probably should have gotten this off your website, but if you're doing that much, if people are needing 40 or 50 cases advice, oh, hey, this is a good case or not, do you offer like introductory, come sit in a classroom type stuff?
We have everything. So we actually we started our hands-on class last year. I have an associate, his name's Dr. Rishi Popat. He's an orthodontist in Phoenix, Arizona. And we use his facility. He has an orthopedo facility, and it is really the coolest class. The next one's going to be in May 8th and 9th, 2020. So we offer it twice a year. It is such a cool class because it's not just straight wire. It's very similar to, say, the 6-month Smiles class, except for our philosophy is comprehensive. So we're not just learning to straighten front teeth. We're learning to fix bites. We're doing phase 1. We're learning about expanders. We're learning about aligners. And he brings in demo patients that, you know, they agree to be able to be there. They get a discount or free treatment to be able to come in and watch us do all kind of demonstrations on how to put in an expander, how to put on braces. And, you know, if you actually are from Arizona, then you can actually bring your own patients too. So, and then he'll help you out. We'll help you out. We have teams there to help you, but it's pretty incredible that doctors walk out of there like knowing how to do all kinds of ortho and actually seeing it, not just watching slides and working on a bench top. So it's pretty cool.
Did you say you have actual patients come to the facility sometimes?
Yeah, because we're using his office. Yeah, he brings like one of everything in. It's so cool.
I'm taking some live patient courses in Scottsdale, and I had to sign up for some sort of Arizona temporary volunteer license. Do you guys do that?
Well, it's him that's doing all the work. So he's the Arizona, you know, license. You get to watch. so yeah, I mean, I guess that would be another option. But thanks for the tip. But yeah, I mean, even just like watching and seeing how people are doing it is pretty incredible, and just going really slow.
Okay. Wow. Here's a good question. So, do you have a preference? Like, I've gone to a lot of different ortho courses over the years. I think my AGD transcript shows like 800 hours.
Wow.
And when I've gone to a course, you know, you'll have this guy saying, why do you got to pull the premolars. You have this guy saying, whoa, we don't pull premolars anymore. That's never, you know, that's the old thing. You know, you're going to jail if you do that. So do you have a favorite way of doing things? You just let the patient dictate the treatment.
You say, so you're right on. You will hear 1,000. And it was the same thing in residency. We have one professor say one thing, one say the other one. You have to come up with your own philosophy. So my general philosophy is, and granted, when I meet with doctors, they come in with different philosophies too. So I try to think their way, and I try to explain the why behind why I'm saying what I'm saying. But as much as possible, I try to avoid pulling out teeth. It's very rare that we pull out teeth, but I'm also super into phase 1 early intervention so that we don't have to pull out teeth. If you get them started and expand the arches when they need to be developed, and eliminate habits and get the right growth of the jaws, you won't need to pull out teeth. So that's the goal. That's why we want these, you know, first line primary care doctors like general dentists and pediatric dentists to start screening at age 4 and fixing things early so we don't have to pull out teeth, because I do think it causes airway issues later. I don't just think, I see it. I've seen it for 20 years.
Oh, so you think pulling out teeth causes airway issues?
100%. I mean, it reduces, I know that there's not that much research yet, and also the reason why the ortho, I think this is my philosophy, the reason why we don't push for the research is because we're afraid we're going to get sued because we pulled out teeth, because we were told that's the only way to do it. So, and I have too. So, but this, because that's all we knew, you know, at the time. So, and it works. We make them nice and straight and make the bite good, but we're reducing the total volume of where the tongue is. And I, you know, over time, I'm seeing, and my other doctors are seeing, a correlation between OSA and 4x extraction cases. Sorry, it's there. You know, I see it myself. So whether the research says it or not, you know, it's there. So let's try to avoid it.
Well, hey, that's great. Yeah. So, well, good. You got to pick a strategy, right? You got to stand for something. You can't just, but yeah, that's good. I love live courses. I wish that it seems like the trend in dentistry has been going away from live courses for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to scale it, right? I mean, because you can only have so many people in there. So, and you can pack a lecture hall and it's completely different, but you will learn 1,000 times more if you actually see it and touch it, you know, than if you just watch it on a screen. I mean,
yeah, and I teach courses too, some courses, and I will tell you, the guys that say, no, I just want the videos or I just want the online course. I mean, I'm guessing 10% of the people watch the videos, but if you get them and you can actually, they're asking questions live, hands-on, no, this is how you do that. I mean, that is so much better. And I wish that we could go back to a place in dentistry where that was more of the norm. I don't know how we get there. You're doing a good job starting the courses. But
we're trying, but yeah, I mean, our courses are pretty small, so we only take max 30 doctors, but that's pretty full, and then a couple of team members. But but hopefully people find them valuable. But we also have digital courses too, where we'll send out a kit with all the supplies, and you can practice different manipulations, check in with us, remotely, because it's not always convenient for people to have to travel.
Yeah, I think you got to do that nowadays, because some people they're just not going to travel. Maybe you can reach out and get them interested so that you can eventually get them to come to a course or something.
Yeah. Sure.
What do you think about just speaking? I don't know why I thought that strategy correlated, but what do you think about circling back, Smile Direct Club's deal with Walmart, where they're going to start selling toothbrushes to try to get people interested?
I'm so glad I did not sell my stock. So I was hurting. And by the way, I did not get it for free. I bought it myself. But I was like, oh, I don't know, I should get rid of it. And all of a sudden they did that, and I was, yay, it went up. So brilliant. It's a funnel is what it is. It's a funnel, because now they're going to get people familiar with their brand who may or may not later actually buy their aligners. So, but yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I hate to say that. That was a smart move on their part. I don't know how it's going to work out. Of course, I don't want to get sued either, but there was a big old Smile Direct Club truck in the mall parking lot in Tupelo, Mississippi a few months ago.
Oh, the Smile truck or whatever it's called. Yeah, they roam around. I didn't know.
And I wonder how that could possibly be legal in Mississippi with all the restrictive laws. We've got a lot of restrictive laws. Like you can't take an impression if no doctor's in the van. So how do they get around that stuff?
Well, they have to. I don't know. I mean, this is their theory. They believe that taking a scan is non-invasive and it doesn't need to be done by a doctor. Now, I know in Georgia, the laws are a little bit different, but it's just capturing base. It's a series of photos. So, I mean, that's not illegal. You can actually not touch a patient and just hover it over. So, and then from there, that's all going to a Mississippi doctor who's creating the treatment plan. Yeah,
but I can promise you, if I'm not inside the four walls of my office and my staff does that, I'm getting a phone call if somebody finds out about it.
We are. So,
right.
Smile Direct Club has a lot of money. A lot of money.
That's why I hate venture capital. Because, too, they can lose a bunch of money. See, that's the thing. A venture capital firm or multiple firms, which I assume they've got multiple firms, they're just making a bet. Well, they may have made so much money on this recent oil crisis that they're willing to throw a few $100 million away just to see what happens, right? And so that's what I can't take it. I just hate it. I guess I hate them because of it. I love America. I think you should be able to do what you want to do, but it's not.
Yeah, but it's what I tell doctors. I'm like, look, you can't be charging $7,000 for your Invisalign and only offer Invisalign, okay? Because there's 1,800 out there, and your patients are going to them. So if you don't want your patients going to them, then you need to find a way to lower your lab fees so that you can address these patients that are in need, so that they can get their aligners, so they don't go with the direct-to-consumer aligner company. So reinvent yourself. If you can get your lab fees down to $300, $400, then you can charge $2,000 and still turn a profit, or use a lot of teledentistry for your check-ins so that they're not taking up your chair space. There's plenty of hybrid options that are out there where you can just have 1, 2, or 3 appointments or less, and still see your own patients for aligners.
Let's go on that. You said something about teledentistry. So what's the teledentistry hybrid option? I don't understand that.
Sure. I mean, we're going from the most well-known is their dental monitoring system. So DM, it's a Parisian company. It does not just for ortho, it's also for all kinds of dentistry, but it's using a HIPAA compliant app that's on your phone to transmit data to the doctor for a variety of conditions, from checking anything, basically anything they actually have so much AI built into their system that it can recognize like hundreds of different conditions that even probably your eye can't even recognize, from cavities to, inflamed gums to teeth that are moving incorrectly. And it sends a report, depending on how you want to dial it, to the doctor, and patients can check in on a certain frequency. It could even be for healing after oral surgery or retention, braces treatment, phase 1 treatment. You can use it for anything. Really, really smart, completely legal, completely HIPAA compliant. It's a little bit expensive. Beyond that, there's a new startup that I'm working with. It's actually a friend doctor of mine, Dr. Moorhead. He's based in Ohio, and he created his own company because he really liked dental monitoring, but it was too expensive for him because they charged a couple of $1,000s to set up, plus it was like $11, $12 per patient per month for this teledentistry check-in option. You can also use it for virtual consults. So he created a company that he launched a few months ago called GP Ortho Tracking. It's letter G, letter P, orthotracking.com. You can check it out. I love it because any company that is a brainchild of a dentist, I think is so cool. You know, we want to support them in what they're doing. And it's a way for you, he built it so that he can have so he was doing in-house aligners, you know, lower cost aligners. He charges a pretty low fee for his patients, and he doesn't want to clog his chairs up, you know, with aligner patients, because for the most part, his aligner, you know, they track really well. And the patients are like, why do I need to come back? This stuff is fitting great. You know, can't you just give me the whole box like Smile Direct Club does? And he's like, okay, here you go. You know, but you need to check in every week or two, you know, using this HIPAA compliant app that he created. And now he's offering it to other doctors that they can embed it in their web pages so that they can keep an eye on their patients. Brilliant. It really is.
Wow, that is pretty brilliant. Well, so I obviously I'm missing something on. There's so many people out there that are printing their own models off the software and then doing. I guess they do suck downs in their office.
Yeah. You can do that, or you can outsource it all. You can outsource parts of it, whatever you want to do.
Well, I was going to say, because the big $25,000 printer I've got, I mean, you're good to get an arch every 8 hours printed. So what's changed in the last 5 years?
It's pretty slow, but I mean, the technology has increased like amazingly, just like anything, right? So yeah, I mean, I know that Dr. Moorhead only prints as he needs. So he'll initially print like the first set or two, give it to the patients, you know, especially if they're only paying as they go, or he can print the whole thing and give it to them. But he prefers just to print and give away a few, and then they check in remotely. And if everything's fitting, they can either come pick them up or he can mail it to them. But if he can do his aligner cases without attachments, he's similar to Smile Direct Club. You're not seeing him very often, only if there's a problem, but they're still checking in. Or if they have attachments in IPR, he'll have a visit to do that initially, and then he'll have a visit to take them off. But everything else in between, as long as it's tracking, you know, and they're checking every week or two, then he doesn't need to see them. Patients, for the most part, his cases just sail. I see them. They sail all the way to the end perfectly. Patients are thrilled. Okay, so let me ask you this question. So, I mean, I'm sure the goal of ortho is almost always to get people close to a class 1 situation, right? Things have changed. So, I mean, in kids, absolutely. I think ethically in children, we should make everyone class 1 and perfect, you know, because because they're growing. But in adults, I think adults have the freedom to choose what they want. And if they don't want to fix their bite with elastics, shoot, when I had braces, I have had everything, you know, but back in my 20s, I decided I had a little gap. I wanted to fine-tune things before my wedding. I was like, I'm not going to wear elastics. Forget it. It's not going to happen. So I'm just going to leave my overjet. So I have a 3mm overjet. Who cares? It was my choice. I understood the risk, benefits, and alternatives. I did not correct my overjet. All I did was straighten my front teeth, and I like it. So. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess somewhere along the way, it went into my head, if you're a GP and you're not getting people in class 1, you know, you're asking for trouble. But you think these days it's changed. So that's why the aligner, I guess that makes aligners more doable, right? Because you're not because it's tough. It's tough to get them in class 1 with aligners. It is. You know, as long as that's the main thing I tell my doctors, you need to explain the risks, benefits, and alternatives of not correcting their bite. And if you don't know how to do that, then you need to learn how to do that. So that's where, you know, I can come in, at least initially, to like understand it a little bit more. So some patients, let's say that they're crowded, but they're kind of shallow, they're kind of open. If you just push forward, then you're going to create an open bite. And that's not good. You know, like then I can't sleep at night. I can't recommend that. I wouldn't do that case because they're going to bite into a sandwich and the cheese and the lettuce are going to stay in the sandwich. And unless you explain that to the patient, then you're liable. But let's say it's a deeper bite, perio's good, and you can expand and procline. No problem. You want to leave an overjet? I don't care. I mean, maybe you'll lisp a little bit. I'm not sure, you know, but, you know, for adults, a lot of times women like that because they get more lip support, you know, big lips are a big thing. So actually it's like a free lip enhancer. No BS. Because the same thing happens if you do a lot of IPR or do extractions and pull back, they look old. They don't like it. Okay. All right. Well,
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, of course, listen, you know me, I'm a general dentist. And so do I actually do business with people like you? I actually don't. My main assistant does, but yeah. I'm sure, I'm going to want to try to do some of this, like, especially, tell me this, let's say that right now I'm paying $1,500 lab bill, charging $4,000 for an aligner case. What do you think that the next time a patient comes in and I think, that'd be a good aligner case, what could I charge them to get a reasonably close same amount of profit using the system you described with white label?
Well, the 50, and not using your 3D printer and outsourcing it all, or using
right.
your 3D?
Okay. How much?
Outsourcing. So most of my doctors are charging around, for the white label, around $2,500 to $3,000 for a case, and they're usually about less than 15, 20 aligners. This is kind of where the max is for that. So their lab fee at most, and that's if you outsource it all, you don't do a single thing in-house, is maybe max $800. But they're also seeing the patients 3 times usually, one for the consult exam, one for the delivery, IPR and attachments, and one for the takeoff. Usually they don't see them. You don't have to see them in the middle if you've got a remote check-in option. So, think about what your overhead is. You have that $800 plus the 3 visits, doctor time for that. Your assistant should be able to do the attachments. You do the IPR. You might have to take them off depending on what state you're in, but at most it's an hour of doctor time. Your billable hour might be $500, $600, $700. We're up to around $1,300. So if you charged $3,000, you're still making a decent profit off that. I don't see what the problem is. And on top of it, anytime you're doing all that, usually more dentistry comes. Like, okay, now we're ready for that implant. We're ready for those veneers. It's going to look way better, and other stuff.
Oh, I can definitely see now that I'm getting into implants how that the ortho and the implants really work hand in hand. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And we didn't even mention one more revenue opportunity that people don't, even orthodontists are just starting to understand, is retention. These retention clubs that people are creating in-house, there's one that's a venture capital based called Forever Aligned Club. You can check that one out. It's based in Georgia. But it's a subscription model where you send in your final scans. It stays in the cloud, not unlike Vivera with Invisalign, but the patient is on a regular subscription model where anytime they need it, either there's a set fee as long as they pay their basically Amazon Prime subscription to be part of that club. Doctor gets a cut of everything. Or you can do this yourself, because there's nothing more frustrating. You're going to need a lot of retainers in a lifetime. You're going to blow through those retainers really quick. And a lot of times we abandon our patients. We finish taking off the braces and the aligners and it's like, bye-bye, wear your retainers. No, there's a whole revenue opportunity there, put them on a subscription model, make sure they're getting retainers regularly, charge a fee for that, and take care of your patient for life.
Well, that's a heck, you could also, like I'm big, actually one of the courses I teach people how to build out an in-house membership plan. Well, you could.
I'm very interested in this course. Okay, I'm taking your course, so let me know when it is, because I need to learn how to do that.
I'm doing it's Chicago, September. I think it's September 9th, Friday.
I've been in Mississippi. I'd rather go to Mississippi than Chicago. So.
Oh well, you can't draw a crowd around here. Nobody wants to come to Mississippi.
I will come to. I told you that's where my family's from, so I have no problem coming to Mississippi.
Well, I tell you what. If you come visit your folks in South Haven or Hernando, wherever, you come over here and you can just hang out for total on the house.
Down in South Haven, but that's okay. They feed me like crazy. But yeah, all right, sure.
Yeah, come on over. It's about 60 miles, so you're welcome anytime. But yeah, I could see where you could fold retainer like a retention fee. It could be like a different level of your membership plan. 100%. Like, hey, retainers for life.
Retainers for life. Yeah, you have to watch out with that because you still want to bill every year, because if you just bill heavy up front, then when you go to sell your practice, it's a liability because they're like, wait, I have to give this patient retention for life and I don't get any money from it. But you can charge them, $5 a month or $99 a year to get retainers for life. It's not unlike, okay, I'll tell the wedding ring story. When I bought my wedding ring, they said anything happens to it for life, you can have, broken, chipped, missed diamonds, we will replace it, guaranteed. But you have to stop by every 6 months and get it checked. If it's 6 months and 1 day, no deal. And of course I missed 1 day and now I have to pay for things. But I went to that jewelry store every year for 15 years, every 6 months. And of course I ended up buying other things when I was there. But what a great way, if you're a general dentist, you could also spin it. You could have a really low membership fee and say, as long as you're an active patient in my practice coming every 6 months, then, you know, I'll do free retainer exams or retainer replacements, repairs, stuff like that. That gets the patients to stick with you. They won't go to the guy down the street, and they bring all their family too. And that's more value than just that piece of plastic. You can make those in-house for $3.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. If you had that the last model on file somewhere you could just pull up, man, that'd be great. Well, you said every time I give a lecture, almost somebody will raise their hand and they'll say, but I'm not getting anything out of somebody coming in, like if they're on a membership plan. And I'm like, so how much dentistry can you do on teeth that are not in your office? Zero. So, we're trying to get the teeth into your office, doctor, so that you can look at them.
Yep. They bring their family, their friends, their kids, their wife, you know, their girlfriend. They come into, hey.
Yeah. Right.
Come on over.
But, you know, sometimes you think, sometimes you feel like dentists are a little low on the common sense stick. Sometimes, not everybody. I'm a dentist, so I'm a victim too. But anyway, so I like it. I like it a lot. I'm certain that I'm going to have Jackie, who runs everything for me, contact your people and see if we can do a case sometime soon.
I will give you several cases, as I do with any of my podcasters. Let's try it out. It's free. Let's just try it, and you know, let's get one going. You know, and
I appreciate it. I'll sing your praises from the rooftops when it goes great.
Yeah, no, and I do that too with anyone. You know, even if especially if you're like a new grad or something and you want to try ortho, we will give you a free case, no problem, because, you know, we know you're hurting. So contact us, no problem.
So how do they contact you, Amanda?
Okay, you can, my email is info@straightsmilesolutions.com, or you can just go to www.straightsmilesolutions.com. It's all there, different ways to contact. Anyone's welcome to have a conversation, totally free.
Okay, I will put that information on the podcast page, and that's great. So, man, I feel like we've had a great discussion. I feel like I need an hour of CE credit, Amanda. Are you going to give that to me for all you taught me today, or?
I wish I could, and we were doing that, but that is like the biggest pain in the rear is CE, trying to do it and trying to get coverage. So sometimes I'll get sponsored by other, you know, labs and stuff, but that is a hassle. So I'd rather give you free stuff than deal with CE. Oh,
so okay, I'll tell you what, if you ever do a show in the Mid-South, I will come up there and you can use my PACE number. How about that?
Sweet. I'm going to take you on for that, for sure.
Bring it on. Okay. All right. So great. We got contact info is going to be here. You were an amazing guest. If you got any parting words for us?
Not really. Just, you know, let's all get along. Let's all be kind to one another. Let's all support one another. We need to keep our profession moving in a positive way. So, you know, let's just help. That's the main thing.
That's right. And we can all hate Smile Direct Club all we want, but at the end of the day, that's not making us any money. So...
Well, I'm going to tell you one more thing about that. So as much as people may not like me, the truth of the matter is, the way I see it, even my 88-year-old mother-in-law had no idea what a clear aligner was until Smile Direct Club started advertising on TV. Now, everyone I know knows what a clear aligner is. So guess what? You don't even have to market. They all know what it is. So capitalize on it.
Okay, stop trying to give me reasons to not hate him, Amanda, okay? That's enough. Stop it. But I will use that tactic.
That is true. I guess I'm a glass half full kind of person, so, you know, I just try to think of life like that.
Okay. And, hey, tell your folks in Mississippi if they run into any trouble, I'll come bail them out, okay?
They generally are in trouble, and I really hope my dad's not seeing this podcast.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya. Bye.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of the Dr. Chris Griffin Show. Be sure to visit drchrisgriffin.com for the latest resources and updates to keep you more productive every single day you're at the practice. So when you're not working, you can do the things that matter most in life. We look forward to having you join us for another episode of the Chris Griffin Show, where the doctor is always in.